South Park returned this week with an all-new episode entitled You're Not Yelping, and as the title may suggest, the topic of this episode was all about Yelp reviews of restaurants, the new restaurants in fact, brought to South Park with the help of Soda Sopa, which you may remember from the last episode. Cartman, being Cartman, of course, used this opportunity to abuse local business owners and try and get free stuff for himself and special service because, well, that's just kind of what he does, and you can usually bet that if Cartman is doing a thing in an episode, that thing the writers usually think is pretty horrible. One of those people turned out to be David, the son of a Mexican restaurant owner who Cartman continually treats like a busboy, even when he's at school with him. Yeah, it would seem like South Park has made good on its promise from a few episodes back, and we now have our first real Hispanic character in the show, and I gotta say, I like David. I don't know if he's gonna stick around or not. I mean, it is hard to tell in South Park who will become a recurring character and who won't. I mean, let's remember, Jimmy was supposed to be a one-off. Now you can't imagine the show without him, and even Big Gay Al had one episode before coming back in the movie and becoming another big fixture. Heck, the Goth Kids were throwaway jokes, and they ended up getting their own episode, for crying out loud. It's not just Cartman on the Yelp trip either. Kyle's dad quickly disappears up his own ass, believing himself to be a serious hoity-toity food critic, well, talking about things like TGI Fridays. And even Officer Harrison Yates gets in on the action himself. You know what, I always liked Harrison Yates as a background player, so I'm happy to see him get some play here. I guess the big message of You're Not Yelping seemed to break down to the fact that Yelpers just want to feel important, and every one of them does feel like they are the center of their universe, and even more important than the very things they're yelping about. So much to the point that they can't even decide who the leader of the Yelp movement is. You know, as someone who's something of a semi-professional Z-list internet critic guy, by which I mean I make a little bit of money at this, I would have liked to have seen the show take the direction of maybe calling out the Yelpers for being so critical themselves, and yet having very little avenue to criticize them back. You know, like Yelpers risk very little by putting themselves out there. Another missed opportunity I felt was for the South Park crew to take a jab at that new Yelp-like service wherein people are allowed to review other people. That never came up, sadly. For a second week in a row, too, South Park leaned very heavily on live-action footage for some of their bigger laughs. This time around, it was footage of ISIS. The joke being Yelpers have the same kind of radical devotion to their cause as well. I'm not gonna lie here, I felt the whole Yelp thing wasn't really interesting enough to fill up an entire episode, and I think a lot of people out there would agree with me. But damn if the Boogers and Cum song from the very end didn't damn near save the episode, much in the same way Jackin' It in San Diego did with its episode. I wish South Park would do more song gags. It feels like it's been forever since the heady days of Kyle's Mom's a Bitch. Or even Salty Chocolate Balls, granted the latter I know why they can't do those anymore. In summation, You're Not Yelping was a decent episode that wrings 22 minutes out of how Yelpers kinda suck. Were it not for the new potential character and the funny song at the end, I would say this was a pretty forgettable episode, but at the end of the day, I do give it a 6 out of 10. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my newest video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll feel like checking out some more videos I have on offer here at Cape Joel.